I currently work at Hanson Sign Companies, and I use that company to outline how I would create a budget and develop the budget. First and foremost, I want to look at what is the benefit of a budget. As a business, we know how much we can spend. It allows us to avoid overspending because we know what is left. We know what our necessary expenses are and what we have left over. With that being said, you can analyze what the possibilities are for your business in terms of expansion. These are my steps to an effective budget. First, you need to analyze the company's average take-in the year. Second, you need to analyze the necessary expenses or the things that the company cannot live without. Third, you need to analyze the expenses that are more of a want, convenience-based expense. And finally, the fourth step is determining the amount you have left to spend. I will go into each of these individually in the next 4 slides. Determining your take-in. The take-in is the overall sales the company generates in the year, and it's the profit. It's in our company, for example, that is how many signs we sell per week, how many signs we sell per month, and for the overall fiscal year. Knowing how much you take in is the most important part for knowing how much you can spend. If you don't know how much you take in, that's where you open yourself up to completely overspending and living outside of your means. Necessary expenses include a lot of different things, but I've outlined the 5 most important here. Materials is big, and I'm a salesperson at the company I work in. And I know that I need to price my signs to account for the materials, and I put a 70% markup on every single raw material that we use. That covers the material along with 70% profit. The next most important expense beyond materials, and it may even be the most important, is salaries. If you don't have employees, it's impossible to create a huge business, and a business our size has 30 employees, which makes your salaries a large part of your overall expense. Another expense is the building. In our case, we own the building, but the owner has recently bought the building, so he is paying a mortgage or any sort of loan. But if you lease a building, you must pay to somebody else every month, every year to run your business in the building that you do. The fourth necessary expense I've listed is utilities. You can't run a business without electricity and heat and water and gas. It's all part of it. And your utilities are more of a set expense. Unless something crazy happens, your utilities are going to remain pretty consistent for the entire year. So that's an easy part of your budget to maintain. And the final necessary expense is equipment upkeep, and beyond that, building upkeep and making sure that all of our stuff is functioning and that it allows us to work in the most effective way we fiscally can. This is the part of a budget that a lot of people seem to have trouble with. Wants are tough because we want a lot of things and we want the best of everything, but we have to determine what money we have left to achieve those wants, to get to those wants. I just listed a few examples here and I'll list them off. Upgrading your technology to have the best of the best, to have the newest computers, the newest, in our case, channel letter benders, the newest paint booth, the newest sandblasters, the newest forklift, the best of the best. Another want would be Christmas gifts for your customers, first and foremost. This year we sent out over 50 customer thank you baskets for Christmas. And we also each received Christmas gifts ourselves from the company. Another one is new equipment altogether. You may have, for example, we have a very old forklift, and it still functions and it still gets the job done, but as an owner, you may want to invest in a new forklift or maybe a second forklift. Building renovations is a huge want. This is anything from adding on an addition to the building, or repainting a part of the building, or refinishing a part of the building. Renovations is endless, but it's not necessarily renovations that can make or break the company. New company cars is another want. We have 4 employees in our company who drive a company car, and 2 of them are leases, so they must be redone every 3 years. But 2 of the cars are owned and could be bought or sold at any given time, and it's all depending on what extra money we have, and that's why we're creating this necessary budget. Employee bonuses, raises, and promotions all goes in one. What money do we have to make sure that we keep our employees happy? That each employee feels wanted in the company, that each employee is properly compensated for their work. Money to spend. This is the budget. This is the actual solid step in creating the budget. So in order to determine how much we have overall to spend, you take your overall sales and you subtract out the cost of material, the labor, and all necessary expenses in order to make the business run and act as a functioning business. Now, with that equation, it allows us to determine how much is left over to spend, how much we have to divvy up to those other expenses that we'd like to have. Necessary expenses are the biggest part of the budget, and that part of the budget never changes. Each year, the numbers themselves may change, but as a company, we will spend the first several weeks determining exactly what our necessary expenses are, how much we've brought in, and what we need to divvy, especially to those areas that will never, ever, ever go away. Now, Hanson Sign Company, just to give you some background, we do about $5 to $6 million in sales annually, and we sell signs as a wholesale manufacturer. Our salaries or labor makes up about $1.6 million, give or take, depending on how many employees we have. That's about $35,000 a week that we need to keep in mind for salaries. Materials and machines are about $1.2 million a year to upkeep for the materials, of course, to buy them, and to maintain all of that. And then we have about $500,000 in the budget each year for emergencies in the building, for necessary repairs to the building, like a giant leak in the roof, a crack in the floor, a broken window, etc. Different things that must happen for the building to still function as it is. So with what is left, after we take out all those expenses out of our sales, leaves us with about $2.3 million. And of course, we'll even say $1 million of that needs to be kept as cash flow. That leaves us with $1.3 million to put into the things that we have to or we want to add to the building. So here's what, in our case, we would budget for what's left. We would buy new equipment. For example, we just bought a new channel letter bender. We are looking to remodel the front office with new carpet, new paint, new light fixtures, etc. We would increase our marketing efforts, for example, attend more trade shows, recreate a website, rebrand the company. And we would look into potential expansions in different parts of this business. Now, these are 4 things that we put into our budget this year, and that's where I came up with these examples. But each business is different, and actually each year in that business, the budget may be different. Thank you, and as always, I had to do this because for some reason I can never figure out how to put sound to my PowerPoint on my Mac. Thank you.